For the first time since 2003, neither the Jets nor the Giants will be in the postseason, and both New York teams had pretty disappointing records in 2012. But which one was a bigger disappointment? We're going to break that down in this week's Game Time Decision, joined by senior editor Eric Edholm. And Eric, when it comes to the Giants and Jets, they're in New York, the biggest media market. We're obviously going to hear about them all the time, and pretty disastrous finishes for both teams. You looked at one point, the Giants were cruising to a division championship, and they fell apart, and we all know about the Jets' problems. But when you look at these two teams, which one do you think is a bigger disappointment?
I think from the outside, people are saying, oh, look at the Jets. What a mess. What a horrible mess up and down. The whole Tebow thing, the Sanchez thing, the Rex Ryan thing, Woody Johnson, Tannenbaum getting fired. But for me, it's the Giants, and clearly so. I know they finished 9-7 last year, and I know they finished 9-7 this year. It was by percentage points and tiebreakers that they didn't make the postseason. But for me, they had set a higher standard for themselves by that postseason run a year ago. Last time they made a Super Bowl and won it in 2007, the following year they were a #1 seed, although they did flame out in the playoffs in the first round in their first game. So, still, for me, I thought this was a team, like you said, that was in the driver's seat. They could have won the division just by controlling their own fate. Instead, they faltered down the stretch. They had the franchise quarterback. They had the better defense. That's why they're the bigger disappointment, in my opinion.
Yeah, you look at that Giants team, it's not like they were riddled by injuries necessarily. Yep. Hakeem Nicks wasn't really 100% most of the year. They had some injuries on defense, especially in that secondary. But you got like Stevie Brown step up and have a huge year. You expect something like that to kind of be the catalyst. The run game worked out well, especially when David Wilson came in at the end. And, the Redskins had a great year, and the Cowboys played well too. But I think on paper, people would still tell you, and you cover this division, that the Giants are still the best team.
I think so too. And I mean that pass rush just disappeared down the stretch. Eli Manning, except for his Week 17 performance, wasn't himself. The offensive line kind of fell apart when it was about a year ago that group came together. I'm not saying the Jets are not above reproach. Don't get me wrong. A lot of it they brought on themselves, not just the Tebow stuff, but Rex Ryan and the attitude they had set there. I think the belief that they thought they were a better team than they were. But on paper, when I looked at them, at least in the preseason, I saw a 7-9 team at best, especially the way they performed in the preseason.
I think you touched on one thing with the Giants, that defensive line. The lack of, that's the staple of that team. That pass rush wasn't there.
Yeah.
One thing about the Jets, though, last year's finish was so bad for them. They just kind of collapsed in the last month. They had all the drama in the locker room. So, I agree with you. I didn't think the Jets were going to necessarily make the playoffs this year, but I thought they would figure things out in terms of that whole team chemistry thing, which some teams will kind of downplay. But when you're the Jets and you have Rex Ryan, that stuff, they make that stuff matter, and it never got better. I think that's really where it's disappointing. Tebow's a big factor in it, but the fact that nothing was fixed after we knew it had to. We knew it was a crucial year, and Mike Tannenbaum lost his job because of it.
Yeah, and I think there were some clubhouse cancers, guys like Bart Scott, I think, really kind of hurt the atmosphere there. Nobody really stepped up on offense. Sanchez was sort of left to hang out to dry a little bit. And no question about it, losing Darrelle Revis and Santonio Holmes, probably their most exciting playmakers on each side of the ball. That's never going to help. But they had issues at safety. That O-line I told you about, I didn't think was very good. No other receivers to help out. Dustin Keller was hurt all year long. So a ton of different factors there, no question about it. But for me, I never saw anything more than maybe an 8-8 season from them. The Giants, I had bigger expectations.
Well, I think the Jets are really epitomized by Tim Tebow. I mean, they led the league in proportion of media attention to how good they actually were.
My goodness.
We spent so much time talking about a backup quarterback who barely played, barely made an impact on that team, because that's what Tebow brings. That's what the Jets have been. The Jets have been a media circus for a couple of years now, and this year they were just bad. I mean, ESPN goes there in the preseason. I think that really culminates in how disappointing they were, but you're right. On paper, they just didn't look like a great team. If we're going to talk about the whole state of New York, though, you could throw the Buffalo Bills in there as well.
Absolutely.
As a disappointing team. I know we picked them to maybe make a run at the wild card. They clearly did not do well. Chan Gailey lost his job, so not good for the NFL teams in New York in 2012. But which team do you think was more disappointing, the New York Giants or the New York Jets? Let us know on our YouTube page and head to our website at profootballweekly.com.